Ladies and gentlemen, how many opportunities have you lost? Not because you weren't capable, but because you spent too much time thinking instead of doing. Most people believe overthinking is a sign of intelligence. They believe that if they analyze every possibility, prepare for every obstacle, and imagine every outcome, they'll eventually make the perfect decision. But that's not how life works. The greatest achievements were never built by people who waited until they had absolute certainty. They were built by people who accepted uncertainty and moved anyway. Overthinking creates the illusion of progress. Your mind stays busy, but your life stays still. You replay conversations that have already ended. You imagine failures that haven't happened. You create problems that don't exist yet. Meanwhile, time keeps moving. Opportunities don't wait for perfect confidence. They reward courageous action. The truth is that confidence isn't something you find before you begin. Confidence is something you earn by taking the first step. Every successful person has experienced fear, doubt, and uncertainty. The difference is they refused to let those emotions become excuses. They understood that action creates clarity. You don't think your way into a better life. You work your way into one. Your future isn't waiting for the perfect version of you. It's waiting for the version of you that decides to begin today. Every small action weakens fear and strengthens belief. Every step forward teaches you something that thinking alone never could. Progress belongs to those who move, even when the path isn't completely visible. Stop asking whether you're ready. Start asking whether you're willing, because readiness is often a myth. Growth begins the moment you step beyond what feels comfortable. Your dreams don't need another plan sitting in your mind. They need your hands, your effort, your discipline, and your courage. Today can be the day you stop living inside your thoughts and start building your future through action. Your life changes the moment your actions become louder than your excuses. Many people mistake overthinking for preparation. They believe that the more time they spend analyzing every possibility, the more likely they are to succeed. They replay every detail, imagine every outcome, and search for the perfect strategy before making a move. On the surface, this feels responsible. It feels productive because the mind is constantly busy. But being mentally occupied is not the same as making progress. A busy mind can still produce a stagnant life. While your thoughts race from one possibility to another, nothing changes in the real world. Days become weeks, weeks become months, and opportunities quietly disappear, not because you lacked talent or ability, but because you never gave yourself permission to begin. Overthinking often disguises itself as caution. It convinces you that one more hour of research, one more conversation, or one more plan will finally make you ready. Yet the finish line keeps moving. Every answer creates another question. Every solution reveals another possible problem. Instead of reducing uncertainty, overthinking multiplies it. Your imagination begins creating obstacles that don't exist. You start preparing for failures that may never happen. You become so focused on avoiding mistakes that you also avoid growth. The irony is that the effort to protect yourself from failure often guarantees that you never experience success. Life has never rewarded perfect plans as much as it rewards consistent action. Every meaningful achievement began with someone taking a step before they had complete certainty. They didn't possess every answer. They simply understood that movement teaches lessons that thinking never can. Experience is the greatest teacher because reality always reveals what imagination cannot. You can spend years predicting how something might unfold, but a single day of action will teach you more than months of endless analysis. Overthinking also drains your emotional energy. Every decision feels heavier than it needs to be because your mind attaches endless consequences to every choice. Simple actions become overwhelming. You begin doubting your abilities, questioning your instincts, and comparing yourself to people who appear more confident. In reality, many of those people simply made peace with uncertainty. They accepted that they could not control every outcome, but they could control whether they showed up and gave their best effort. Progress has always belonged to those who are willing to be imperfect. The first attempt is rarely the best one. The first conversation may feel awkward. The first project may contain mistakes. The first business idea may fail. But every imperfect action provides valuable feedback that no amount of thinking can replace. Mistakes are not signs that you should stop. They are proof that you are participating in your own growth. Every lesson learned through action strengthens your judgment and prepares you for greater opportunities ahead. The greatest danger of overthinking is not that it leads to bad decisions. The greatest danger is that it often leads to no decision at all. While you remain trapped inside your own thoughts, life continues moving without waiting. Opportunities pass to people who are willing to act before they feel completely ready. Confidence, wisdom, and resilience are not rewards for thinking longer. They are rewards for stepping forward, learning through experience, adapting when necessary, and continuing to move despite uncertainty. The moment action replaces endless analysis is the moment real progress finally begins. One of the biggest misconceptions people have is believing they need complete clarity before they take the first step. They wait for certainty, confidence, and the perfect plan before they begin. They think that if they spend enough time thinking, eventually every question will be answered and every obstacle will disappear. But life doesn't work that way. Clarity is not something you discover while standing still. It is something you develop while moving forward. Every meaningful journey begins with uncertainty, and every successful person has had moments when they had no idea exactly how things would unfold. What separated them from everyone else was not greater knowledge at the beginning. It was the willingness to act despite the unknown. Action has a unique way of revealing truths that thinking alone never can. You can imagine starting a business, changing careers, writing a book, or learning a new skill for years, but your imagination will always be incomplete. Reality teaches lessons that no amount of planning can provide. The moment you begin, you receive feedback. You discover what works, what doesn't, where your strengths lie, and what needs improvement. Every action gives you information that simply cannot be gained through endless analysis. Instead of guessing, you begin learning through experience, and experience is always more valuable than assumption. Many people become trapped because they confuse preparation with progress. They read more books, watch more videos, attend more seminars, and wait until they feel completely ready. While learning is important, knowledge without action becomes wasted potential. There comes a point where another lesson adds very little compared to the lesson that comes from doing the work yourself. Real understanding grows when knowledge meets experience. That is when confidence begins to replace doubt, because you are no longer relying on theories, you are relying on what you have personally learned. Action also reduces fear. Fear thrives in uncertainty and imagination. The longer you delay, the larger the challenge appears in your mind. You begin creating worst-case scenarios, convincing yourself that failure is inevitable before you've even tried. But once you take the first step, fear starts losing its power. You realize that many of the problems you imagined never actually existed. The obstacles that do appear become manageable because you are dealing with reality instead of fantasy. Progress replaces panic and movement replaces hesitation. Every successful achievement is built one action at a time. No one becomes an expert overnight. Every master was once a beginner who felt uncertain. Every confident speaker once struggled with nervousness. Every respected leader once questioned their own abilities. Their confidence did not appear before they started. It grew because they continued taking action, learning from mistakes, and improving through repetition. Each small victory created greater belief in themselves, and each setback became another lesson rather than a reason to quit. Waiting for complete clarity often becomes an excuse to avoid discomfort. The truth is that certainty is rarely available at the beginning of anything worthwhile. Growth demands that you step into situations where not everything is guaranteed. That uncertainty is not a sign to stop, it is an invitation to grow. Every decision you make, every conversation you begin, every challenge you accept, and every risk you take teaches you something valuable. With every step, the path becomes more visible. Doors that once seemed hidden begin to open, opportunities become easier to recognize, and your direction becomes stronger because it is based on experience rather than assumption. Clarity is not the reward for waiting. It is the reward for moving, learning, adapting, and refusing to let uncertainty keep you standing still. Fear has a remarkable ability to grow when you stand still. The longer you hesitate, the more powerful it becomes. A challenge that once seemed manageable slowly transforms into something overwhelming because your mind keeps adding imaginary obstacles to it. You begin questioning your abilities, doubting your decisions, and convincing yourself that failure is almost certain. Fear thrives in delay because it feeds on uncertainty. It grows stronger every time you postpone taking action. The more time you spend thinking about what could go wrong, the less likely you are to discover what could go right. What started as a small concern becomes a mountain that seems impossible to climb, not because reality has changed, but because your perspective has. The truth is that fear is a natural part of every meaningful pursuit. It appears whenever you step towards something that matters. Whether you are starting a new career, launching a business, speaking in front of an audience, pursuing a dream, or making a life-changing decision, fear will almost always be present. The goal is not to eliminate fear before you begin. The goal is to stop allowing fear to decide what your future will look like. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is choosing to move even when fear is sitting beside you. Every step forward weakens fear because action replaces imagination with reality. Before you begin, your mind creates endless worst-case scenarios. It tells you that people will judge you, that you will fail, or that you are not capable enough. But when you finally take the first step, you start collecting evidence that challenges those beliefs. You realize that many of your fears were exaggerated. Some problems never appear at all, while others turn out to be much easier to solve than you expected. Experience begins replacing assumption, and confidence starts growing naturally through action. Think about learning to ride a bicycle. Watching videos or reading instructions can teach you the basics, but eventually you have to get on the bike. At first, you may feel nervous and unsteady. You might even fall, but every attempt teaches your body something new. Your balance improves, your confidence increases, and what once felt frightening eventually becomes second nature. The same principle applies to every challenge in life. Mastery is built through repeated action, not repeated thinking. Fear also loses its grip because movement shifts your attention. Instead of focusing on everything that might happen, you begin concentrating on what needs to happen next. Your energy moves from worrying to solving. Rather than imagining every possible mistake, you become fully engaged in learning, adjusting, and improving. This practical focus leaves less room for fear to dominate your thoughts. You become too busy making progress to remain trapped in endless anxiety. Every successful person has faced moments of fear. They have questioned themselves, experienced setbacks, and encountered uncertainty. The difference is not that they were fearless. The difference is that they refused to let fear become a permanent obstacle. They understood that waiting to feel completely confident would only delay their growth. Instead, they allowed action to build the confidence they were looking for. Every challenge they accepted made the next challenge seem less intimidating because they had already proven to themselves that they could survive discomfort and keep moving forward. Fear will always whisper reasons to stay where you are because staying familiar feels safe. But comfort rarely leads to transformation. The life you want exists beyond the limits of your current confidence. Every time you choose action over hesitation, you expand those limits. You discover strengths you didn't know you possessed, develop resilience through experience, and realize that fear was never meant to stop you. It was simply a sign that you were standing at the edge of growth. The moment you decide to move forward, fear begins losing the power it once held, and your future becomes shaped by courage instead of hesitation. One of the greatest obstacles to success is the belief that the perfect moment is still somewhere in the future. Many people postpone their dreams because they are waiting for ideal conditions. They tell themselves they will begin after they have saved more money, gained more experience, learned one more skill, or found the right opportunity. It sounds reasonable, but this way of thinking quietly steals years from their lives. The perfect time rarely arrives because life is constantly changing. There will always be another challenge to face, another responsibility to manage, or another reason to delay. If you build the habit of waiting for perfect circumstances, you may spend your entire life preparing without ever truly beginning. The desire for perfect timing often comes from the fear of making mistakes. Deep down, people hope that if they wait long enough, they can avoid failure altogether. They imagine that successful people started only after everything was in place. But history tells a different story. Every meaningful achievement began with uncertainty. Great businesses were launched with limited resources. Inspiring careers started with little experience. Important decisions were made without knowing exactly how everything would turn out. Success has never belonged to those who waited for certainty. It has always belonged to those who acted despite uncertainty. The truth is that timing is not what creates success. Preparation matters, but preparation only becomes valuable when it is followed by action. You can spend years creating plans, setting goals, and imagining possibilities, but until you take the first real step, nothing changes. Action is what transforms ideas into reality. Every day you delay is another day that could have been used to learn, improve, and move closer to your goals. Progress is built through momentum, and momentum only begins when you stop waiting and start moving. There will always be reasons to postpone. Speak Your Mind is incredibly creative when it comes to producing excuses that sound logical. It will tell you that next month will be better, next year will be easier, or that you need just a little more preparation. While these excuses may feel convincing, they often hide a deeper fear of discomfort. Growth requires stepping into situations where you are not completely ready. That feeling of uncertainty is not evidence that you should stop. It is often evidence that you are about to grow. Every successful person has experienced moments when they felt unprepared. They doubted themselves, questioned their abilities, and worried about what others might think. The difference is that they refused to let those feelings control their decisions. They understood that confidence is not something you possess before you begin. It is something you develop by showing up repeatedly. Every action, no matter how small, strengthens your belief in yourself. Every challenge overcome becomes proof that you are capable of handling more than you once imagined. Waiting for the perfect moment also comes with an invisible cost. Opportunities do not remain available forever. Relationships change, markets evolve, industries shift, and time continues moving forward whether you act or not. The chance you have today may not exist tomorrow. While you hesitate, someone else is learning, improving, and taking advantage of the opportunities you were too afraid to pursue. The world rewards those who are willing to begin, not those who endlessly prepare. The reality is that there is no perfect timing because perfection does not exist. Every journey begins with imperfect circumstances, unexpected setbacks, and unanswered questions. The people who achieve extraordinary results are not those who waited for life to become easier. They are the ones who accepted that uncertainty is part of every worthwhile pursuit and decided to move anyway. The best moment to begin is rarely the moment when everything feels comfortable. It is the moment you choose to stop making excuses, trust the process, and take the first step toward the future you want to create. Many people believe confidence is something you are born with or something that suddenly appears after achieving success. They look at confident leaders, entrepreneurs, athletes, and performers and assume those individuals have always believed in themselves. The truth is far different. Confidence is not a gift that a lucky few receive. It is the result of repeated action. It is built one small decision at a time, one promise kept at a time, and one challenge faced at a time. Every meaningful accomplishment begins with ordinary actions that seem insignificant in the moment but become powerful through consistency. Small daily actions may not look impressive on a single day, but they have an extraordinary effect over time. Waking up when you said you would, completing a workout, reading a few pages of a book, practicing a skill for 30 minutes, making an important phone call, or finishing a task you have been avoiding may seem like minor victories. Yet each one sends a powerful message to your mind. It says, quote, "I do what I say I will do." Quote, that simple belief becomes the foundation of real confidence. Confidence grows when your actions repeatedly prove that you can trust yourself. The opposite is also true. Every time you make a commitment to yourself and fail to follow through, your self-belief weakens a little. You begin questioning your discipline and doubting your ability to achieve bigger goals. This is why confidence cannot be built through positive thinking alone. You can repeat encouraging words every morning, but if your daily actions constantly contradict those words, your mind will believe your behavior instead of your affirmations. Your actions always speak louder than your intentions. One of the greatest advantages of focusing on small daily actions is that they remove the pressure of needing immediate success. Speak. Large goals can feel overwhelming because they appear distant and difficult. But almost every great achievement is simply the result of hundreds of small steps completed consistently. A person who writes one page every day eventually finishes a book. Someone who saves a little money consistently builds financial security. A beginner who practices a skill every day eventually becomes highly capable. Greatness is rarely created through dramatic moments. More often, It is created through ordinary habits repeated with extraordinary consistency. Each small success also changes the way you see yourself. Instead of identifying as someone who struggles to stay disciplined, you begin seeing yourself as someone who follows through. Instead of believing you are incapable of change, you begin collecting evidence that proves otherwise. Identity is shaped by repeated behavior. Every positive action becomes another vote for the person you are becoming. Over time, those votes become impossible to ignore. Your confidence no longer depends on what other people think because it is rooted in the promises you have consistently kept to yourself. Daily action also teaches resilience. Some days your efforts will produce noticeable results, while other days they may seem meaningless. The disciplined person continues anyway because they understand that success is rarely visible in the beginning. Just as a seed grows beneath the surface before breaking through the ground, personal growth often happens long before the world can see it. Every consistent action strengthens your character, even when external rewards have not yet appeared. Massive confidence is not built in a single breakthrough moment. It is built quietly through countless ordinary days when you choose discipline over excuses, effort over comfort, and progress over perfection. Every time you take a small step despite feeling tired, uncertain, or unmotivated, you strengthen your belief in yourself. Those repeated actions create momentum, and momentum creates lasting confidence. Eventually, you stop wondering whether you are capable because your daily habits have already provided the answer. You know you can face challenges, adapt to setbacks, and continue moving forward because you have practiced doing exactly that. One small action at a time. Everyone has good intentions. Almost everyone wants to become healthier, wealthier, wiser, happier, or more successful. People dream about building meaningful careers, strengthening relationships, starting businesses, learning new skills, and creating better lives for themselves and their families. The problem is not a lack of desire. The problem is that intentions alone have never changed anyone's future. Wanting something and deciding to act on it are two very different things. Dreams remain nothing more than wishes until they are supported by choices that move them toward reality. Your future is not shaped by what you hope will happen. It is shaped by the decisions you make every single day. Intentions are comfortable because they require nothing from you. You can intend to exercise tomorrow, intend to save money next month, intend to read more books, or intend to pursue your biggest goals someday. These thoughts create a temporary feeling of satisfaction because they make you believe you are committed to change. But life does not reward good intentions. It rewards consistent decisions followed by meaningful action. Every time you choose to act, you move one step closer to the person you want to become. Every time you delay, you reinforce the habits that are keeping you where you are. The quality of your life is the result of thousands of decisions, many of which seem insignificant at the time. Choosing to wake up early instead of pressing the snooze button, deciding to spend an hour learning instead of scrolling through social media, choosing to have a difficult but necessary conversation, deciding to invest rather than waste money, or choosing to continue working when motivation disappears, may not seem life-changing in a single moment. Yet these small decisions accumulate over weeks, months, and years until they create dramatically different outcomes. Success is rarely the result of one extraordinary decision. It is usually the product of ordinary decisions made consistently. Many people wait for motivation before making important choices, but motivation is unreliable. Some days you will feel inspired, while other days you will feel tired, discouraged, or distracted. If your decisions depend on your emotions, your progress will always be inconsistent. Strong character is built when your decisions are guided by your values rather than your feelings. You continue doing what is right because you have already decided who you want to become. Discipline allows your decisions to remain steady even when your emotions change. Every decision also shapes your identity. When you repeatedly choose courage over comfort, responsibility over excuses, and growth over convenience, you begin seeing yourself differently. You stop identifying as someone who only talks about change and start becoming someone who creates it. Your confidence grows because your actions prove that you can trust yourself. Each positive decision becomes evidence that you are capable of handling greater challenges and achieving greater goals. There will always be reasons to postpone important decisions. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, and fear of uncertainty can make hesitation seem safer than action. but refusing to decide is still a decision. Choosing to remain where you are has consequences, just as choosing to move forward does. Time will continue to pass regardless of whether you act, and the future will be shaped by the choices you make today, not by the promises you make to yourself about tomorrow. The people who build extraordinary lives are not necessarily the most talented or the luckiest. They are often the ones who understand the power of decisive action. They recognize that every choice is like placing another brick in the foundation of their future. They know that success is not created by hoping for better circumstances, but by making better decisions repeatedly. Your future is being built right now through the choices you make, the habits you strengthen, the opportunities you embrace, and the actions you refuse to postpone. Every decision carries the power to move you closer to the life you imagine, while every intention without action leaves that life just out of reach. Here is a strong, inspirational ending that matches the tone of your speech. So, as you leave today, remember this: your greatest obstacle is not a lack of talent, opportunity, or potential. More often than not, it is the habit of staying inside your own thoughts instead of stepping into action. Every successful journey begins with a single decision to move forward, even when the path is uncertain. You will never eliminate every fear, answer every question, or create the perfect plan before you begin. But you don't have to. Progress has never belonged to those who waited for certainty. It has always belonged to those who chose courage over comfort. Stop letting overthinking steal the future you deserve. Stop waiting for the perfect moment, because the perfect moment is created the instant you decide to act. Trust that every step you take will teach you something valuable, every challenge will make you stronger, and every setback will prepare you for an even greater comeback. Your future is not written by your doubts, it is written by your decisions. It is shaped by the small actions you repeat every day, and the courage you show when fear tells you to stay still. Speak. One decision can change your direction. One action can change your confidence. One day of commitment can become the beginning of a completely different life. So take that first step today. Make the call. Start the project. Learn the skill. Have the conversation. Chase the dream you've been postponing. Don't let another day pass waiting for a version of yourself that already exists beneath your excuses. The life you've been imagining isn't waiting for more thinking. It's waiting for your action. Start now, stay consistent, and let your results become the story that inspires others to do the same. Thank you.